Did I brush you off? Is it your lack of friends? We never met. Even if you pretend, am I in your debt? I don't owe you nothing. Don't say something you'll regret. Hate, rage, don't waste it on me. Spite, lies telling you, don't waste it on me. Hate, rage, don't waste it on me. Spite, lies telling you, don't waste it on me. Rage, don't waste it on me. Spite, lies telling you, don't waste it. I'm telling you, don't waste it. Lies telling you, don't waste it on me. It's plain and simple, dear. I'll still be here when you're gone. You gather souvenirs, but I will never be your pawn. Your pawn. Your pawn. My love wasn't ever a game. I lay Nothing's wrong, I feel it circling like vultures around my brain. Couldn't see the danger in your eyes. Draw me in, got me spinning now like water to a drain. You were perfect till I realized you hadn't shown your face. You sing a pretty song to drag my heart along. A siren serenade.
Welcome, one and all. Ooh, my mic is very loud. How is it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the fantastic MPL talk show. I am your host today, Woos. How's it going, guys?
Good. Outstanding, Woos. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. We got a lot of fun stuff going on today. We are in week 3, correct, Scully? I know you were correcting me on that earlier.
Yeah, we're in week 3 right now.
That is correct. And week 3, and later after this, we also have the Empire versus Prestige game shows, or not game show, but games. So stick around for after that. But today, we've got to talk about a little bit what's going on these past weeks, what we're looking forward to, and what is going to go on today. And I am none other joined by our fantastic caster and analysts, Scully, which is directly underneath me, Coach Scully. We got Whoops You, just diagonal on me, and Wolfie Too Hot, some familiar faces and names that we've seen around here. Guys, what are we looking at as far as the past, some of the games we've seen this week, and how that has affected some of the standings?
Well, I'm glad you asked. We have had some amazing games coming up through this week. One that I really want to bring attention to was the upset of the century last week, where we have named Mr. Bepic. I have dubbed him Prophet Bepic, right? 25% of Twitter got this right. 25% of the casting and analyst booth got this right. And that 25% of the analyst booth was the Prophet, Mr. Bepic, predicting Untamed over Prestige in 7. Nobody predicts that, but he did, and that's exactly what happened. Untamed came in, taking game 1, then struggling and going back and forth with this titan of an organization, the sponsors of this entire event, and takes them to a game 7 in which they dominate the final game and take it all the way and actually claim the dub. And now, after that and all that effort, they've come through in week 3, won their game versus Synergy, which is another game to talk about in and of itself, and have clinched playoffs. They are the first and only team so far who have clinched playoffs off of that unbelievable game.
It was a heck of a game. I mean, you're not underselling it by any means. If you guys haven't had the chance to go back and watch that game, I highly recommend it, because in the first half, I'm not going to lie, Prestige had us, okay? I had the honor and privilege of casting that match. I'm casting the Prestige match tonight as well, so guys, stick around for that matchup. But I will say this. Everybody was talking about it, how much Prestige has kind of been struggling. And as I was casting that match, the first game 1, game 2, game 3, I mean, I think actually game number 1, Untamed actually came in and actually won that matchup.
Yeah.
And then Prestige fought back, won game 2, game 3 as well. And then they were on game 3, and I think that they were at match point, and Untamed just kind of came back, tied up the series, and took it to game number 7 and just took over at that point. So, I mean, Prestige, for some reason, just has been struggling. I have no idea why, but they looked very good when they were peaking.
They always do look great when they're peaking, and we even talked about in the analyst booths, right? The rumors kind of floating around that they might have been struggling, that they might have been on a little bit of a slump before going in. And true or not, Untamed came in and put forth an unbelievable showcase. 7 just taking over the game the way he did, showing everybody why he was the week 1 MVP. And honestly, I haven't been part of any discussions or received any news, but if he's not week 2 MVP as well, I do not know who is even in contention.
100% agree with you. 7 came into this one, just absolutely took over, showed why he's one of the best players on that Untamed team. But I mean, it was a team effort, all in all. You know, I mean, everybody from Untamed showed up just to play the best Rocket League possible. And at the end of the day, whoever is going to play the best Rocket League on the field at that time is going to be the better team. I mean, on paper, I really feel like both of these teams match up really well. I gave a slight advantage to Prestige as well, being a little bit biased because I have worked with them before in the past. You know, like you said, they're the sponsor as well. And then Betpic just out of nowhere with a long shot, just kind of saying, you know, the only person taking Untamed, which, like you said, was just unheard of. But now he's like this prophet, this you know, Nostradamus type caster. That's the only person that's predicted this one right. So I mean, Wolfie, what's your take on this whole matchup?
This matchup, honestly, a matchup that we didn't think that was really going to happen for a win for Untamed. And when we're looking as well at the Group A stage, and looking at the what happened for them this past week, another game that really was a big one for the Group A was that Lights Out versus Rain Esports matchup. Those two were able to go to 7 games. Like, remember, Lights Out did get a week 1 bye, so they have not had that practice, or they have not had that time to really get themselves acclimated here in the MPL, where Rain was able to take down 1KD, 1000 Dreams, that is 4-2. So a squad that was at the top of the bracket able to come down back to earth as Lights Out, able to take the top there. But Rain, a very good squad, and actually had a show match against Untamed, a team that we were talking and referring to right now. They were able to beat them 4-1 in that show match for that best of 7.
Yeah.
Rain,
So it
took
shows you.
down. Oh my! Go on.
No, it just shows you right there. Rain is a squad that's going to be here and really to trying to contend at the top of the level. So the fact that Lights Out was able to take down Rain, a team that was able to take 5 games to Untamed Esports, Lights Out now has a big spotlight on them as we continue down, and they have a good matchup with 1000 Dreams next week.
I called Lights Out going to be at the top of Group A. I had no doubts in my mind about that. But to hear Rain taking down Untamed in a show match, I don't want to down on Rain anyway. You know, I casted a game that they had versus Team Meteor, where Team Meteor just really came up and showed up very heavily this week. Yeah, I don't want to talk bad about them, but I want to know how seriously Untamed was taking that, because Untamed has taken down some amazing people. And
Yeah.
just over this last week, again, we've had another surprising match. Again, I want to talk about Untamed because the spotlight is on them. They're not necessarily the underdogs, but they were not predicted to be as good as they have been. They played a team that, you know very well, Synergy. Synergy actually took them to 3 overtimes on their way to actually end up losing it 1-4. But you know that team very well and how hard they fought.
Oh, 100%. You know, I know Synergy's team. I follow them as far as like loosely because a lot of the tournaments that I cast, I see Synergy. I see the repeat Courtney, Kira, and Sway essentially in these tournaments, and they're just grinding together. Every single tournament, you look at Synergy, you see the name, and you see those 3 names behind that team, whereas you see a bunch of other teams kind of trying different players out, you know, kind of, you know, picking one player off of a separate team. Let's try them in this tournament and stuff like that. But they've been consistent, and I really, really feel like, you know, a team like Synergy that has made it to day 2 as far as RLCS goes and just missed it by, I think, a game or 2. There at any given time could just pop off and just everything will start to click for them at any given time. So, I mean, I feel like they just need to kind of just find that, excuse me for saying this, but be in sync and be synergized essentially and kind of like, you know, as soon as they figure that out and figure out what they need to kind of do and everybody fits into their roles properly, then essentially they're all going to come together and it's just they're going to pop off. I mean, so I feel like they really could compete with most of the teams here in the MPL.
Absolutely. And it's unfortunate right now to see them at the very bottom of Group D at a -5.
It's a tough group though.
It is a tough group. We dubbed Group D the group of death, guys, and there is a plethora of playoff caliber teams. I don't think there's a single team in Group D right now who should not be in the playoffs. But you know, there's going to be at least 1, if not 2 teams, because only the top 3 can move on, and then the rest go into the Clash of Circuits, hosted by Circuitry, which is the wild card tournament to select the last singular 1 playoff spot. And it could come from this group. So at least one of these playoff contention teams are not going to be there. And that, looking at the skill level of Group D, of the Group of Death, that is just unbelievable to think one of these teams is guaranteed to not show up in the playoff tournament.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know or not really following, just joining us or whatever, Group D is Untamed Esports, Valkyrie Array, Empyre Esports, Prestige Esports, and Synergy in that group. So, I mean, those are some big, big names in the bubble scene for Rocket League. And like we said, the Group of Death, and that's why it's Group D over there. So to see, those groups, those names, huge staples inside the Rocket League bubble scene, all inside the same group, and you're talking about only top 2 are going to make it to that tournament?
Top 3 are guaranteed a spot, right, Woos?
Oh, hey, I was muted. Come to find out, I'm having a little bit of audio difficulty on my end. But regardless, as I was saying, we're about to go to a screen. We're going to show the entire group standings. But whenever you do that, keep in mind that the Prestige Esports standings on here are wrong. They are currently 0-1. It is showing 1-1, so we'll find out whether that ends up being true or not.
Oh, yeah.
Following tonight's game. But we're going to go ahead and bring this up. If you guys could go ahead and let's give a breakdown of who you think will be knocked out at the end of the regular season, looking at the current standings.
Oh, interesting.
I think we can start this off with Wolfie. I mean, we haven't heard too much from you yet. What do you think you got going on here?
Well, if we're looking at just overall, I see teams that are struggling, such as 1,000 Dreams, that may be on the outside looking in. Unfortunately, a squad that really came into this one really excited, but that Group A still, as much as we look at that Group D, that's something that we have to look at, as well as Synergy, who we're talking about right now. They have so many notable names, but they were just put in such a tough, such bracket. And maybe if they were putting that into B or C or just somewhere else, they may have had more of a time to flourish. But when you're playing against someone of the top competition, it really is going to be something that you look at as a team who had a lot of potential. When they're not out. It's 0-2, still so early in the season. They could try to run it all back and be 4-2. But in a group like this, it's going to be hard for them. So I think 1,000 Dreams and Synergy might be one of those 2 teams that are really hoping to find a way to get in, but may not get there.
I can foresee that happening too, Wolfie. I think I'm gonna hop on the bandwagon with you. 1,000 Dreams coming into this one, looking very, very good on paper. Last week, very close matchup right there, or not close matchup, but like a must-win matchup for them against that Revenge GG squad, and Revenge GG actually taking that one 4-1 in that best-of-7 matchup. So I mean, they came in here, they look very, very good on paper, but for some reason it just has not been clicking inside this MPL league for them. So I mean, I really feel like 1,000 Dreams, they can still kind of get things kickstarted, but I think it's going to be a very, very difficult journey for them, because you got Team Meteor in week number 4 for them. So that's going to be a tough matchup. Is it possible to beat Team Meteor? Of course, but Team Meteor is definitely one of the better groups, or better teams in Group A. Hopping over to like Group C, like you guys are talking about, Dracon Esports, they're starting this one with 0-2. And in my opinion, I'm not going to say weaker by any means, but definitely a group where you can kind of excel in is Group C. And you're starting off this whole entire season 0-2 right now. So I mean, that's definitely a team to watch out for, and I think that the team that can kind of fall off as well. And like you said, Synergy's just that Group D, very, very solid team on paper as well. But Synergy being 0-2 right now in that Group D is not going to be favorable for them as well. So yeah, those are a couple of teams I feel like are going to be out of this one.
And I completely agree with with that. And like you said, 1,000 Dreams being 0-2 right now, coming in and looking really good on paper. But, we talked about Synergy, right? If they were put in a different group, in a different pool, maybe they'd have a better chance to flourish in the top 3, maybe, heck, even maybe the top 2 of the group, in maybe groups A or C. But 1,000 Dreams doesn't have that. Group A and Group C are the 2 groups that, not to knock anybody in there, they are the quote unquote weaker groups. They are the middle of the road teams.
Yeah.
These guys are the meat of the competition. They're the game 7s and long running games every time. Where you see in Group B, Circuitry and Short Circuit is bringing teams to just 4-0 almost every time. Untamed, same thing, just really demolishing teams in there, although there is a lot of high-level competition in there, very jam-packed. A and C, these are the groups that you need to flourish in. If you are going to do well, this is where you have to do it. And teams like 1000 and Drakon just not feeling it. Another team that I feel like is just not necessarily ready for the competition is Torrent White, coming in with that big RLCS name, but it is their women's carball team coming in. Some of the best women in the world, but unfortunately not able to keep up with the bubble scene, with the rest of the bubble who could choose any player that they wish. And that is one of the big downfalls of bringing your women's carball teams into a place like this. But then again, you've got Synergy doing very similarly a similar activity and just really strong, but still struggling.
See, I would disagree with that because like Synergy only has Courtney and Carolina on there, and they're both playing for two separate carball teams. I feel like still correct.
That's why I
Unless
said similarly. That's why I said similarly.
But then Torrent White, I love to see the women's side of things.
I love it. I love it.
The women's carball, trying to excel at, in a predominantly male kind of, society, what Rocket League is, kind of trying to get this experience as well to perform at that higher level. So to see all girl team, I'm not trying to say you said this by any means. I'm just trying to say from, my thought process.
No, I get
it's really
it.
good to see, the Torrent White, the all women's team here, and they have a win here as well. So I mean, they can perform at this level. They are in that Group B level. It's tough with Circuitry Gaming, like you said, short circuit as well. But I mean, I really feel like they can flourish inside that Group B. They just need to kind of start clicking together as well. So yeah, I mean, Torrent White, I'm not too sure. I think it's too early to call in that Group B kind of who's going to be out in that out in that one.
Very interesting that you guys have some of these predictions like that. Taking some of these predictions, let our fans here let them put their predictions in the chat while we go to a quick break. We will be back here in just a couple minutes. If I can learn how to do things.
You sing a pretty song to drag my heart along. A siren serenade, you're ringing out to pray. Your love's a wrecking, you know it's wrong. It's over, same story. You lose to love and glory. It's over.
would
All
if they win
right.
against Lights Out, it would take them in. I'm sorry.
I gave you a warning this time. What's up, everybody? We are back.
We're
Back
still,
to the
sitting
desk.
here. We're talking on the back of the things like it's supposed to be a break, and we're over here just like all still talking about stuff. So I mean, it fits well into the podcast. You know what I mean? So whatever.
I gave you a legitimate
See,
warning this time.
I have my alerts off in Discord, so
You had been watching the chat the whole time. What's up, fans? How's it going? We are back to the desk. We're going to talk a little bit more about the matchup. This time we're going to talk more about the future. We did talk a little bit about the future on who we thought was going to get knocked out, but I want to talk specifically about next week's matchups and how we think they're going to go, starting with Group A, moving down through Group D. We're going to hand it over to Wolfie here to start, my man. How do you think the Group A matchups are going to go next week?
Group A has a lot of really good matchups on here, and looking at the paper, we have Lights Out versus Team Revenge, who are really going to come in here for a statement game. Revenge is really going to try to put their mark on here, and currently have more points in their bracket with 2 points, with Lights Out being +1, and being able to get that game and just pull away from them is going to be huge. And I think if that's going to be the match of the week next week, in my opinion. Lights Out versus Revenge.
Okay.
I think that game is going to be something that everyone's going to want to see. That we're going to have to circle on our calendars, and they're really going to try to put their best foot forward, because whoever is able to get that win there is be major going into that playoff push as we continue looking down the line. But I don't want to look into week 5 just yet. I'm going to leave that for next week's show. But we're looking at it as well for Team Meteor versus 1000 Dreams. Team Meteor is doing well this season, and able to get a win here, it would be huge for them just for their seeding bracket and going up to hopefully a 2-0, 3-0 for their season here. But we'll see how they play this week. But they still have rain. But Group A does not get easier for them. I know we say Group D is a group of death, but Group A is kind of sneaky when it comes to the talent here. You really can't overlook them.
Oh, not by any means. I really feel like, Group A shouldn't sell themselves short by any means, but I really feel like everybody in Group A is kind of on the same bar, that anybody can kind of beat anybody at any given time. I know a lot of people here in the MPL caster-wise kind of ranked Team Meteor as the best team in Group A, but Revenge came out in that week number 1 matchup. It took them all the way to a game number 7. So, I mean, I feel like a lot of people just weren't familiar with who Revenge were at the time, and now they kind of, you guys are starting to get a feel as to who they are. So yeah, I totally agree with Woofy. This is a must-win for Revenge next week if they want to, solidify that second place spot in that Group A.
Yeah, I feel like Revenge could probably, I think they can mathematically clinch if they can raise their game differential to +4 or higher. I think they can actually clinch it. The next person behind them is going to be Rain, and they only have one more match. No, I think if Revenge wins that, I'm pretty sure they clinch.
I would say so, because they would put them in second place because they lost to Team Meteor. They would move automatically to second place because they beat Lights Out and they have the same record as well. So they put one game ahead of Lights Out.
Even if Rain gets a 4-0 in week 5, that puts them at a +2. So if Revenge wins, that's a +3 game differential. Revenge clinches if they win next week.
Wow.
And round 5 too. Look at Lights Out versus Team Meteor. Those two teams right there. I didn't want to say it. I wanted to leave it for next week, but we're talking about it. I'm excited for that. That right there is going to tell us who's going to make that number 2 spot.
Yeah,
and that would like we're talking about right here. That's a must win for Revenge now. Now that I'm seeing it, because week 5, like you said, that's Lights Out versus Meteor. One of those 2 teams is going to be dropping off as far as like the series scores go, as far as overall ranking goes, or record. So let's say, just hypothetically speaking, Lights Out wins that matchup. It's going to be a cluster, okay, in Group A, because that means Team Meteor beat Revenge, but Revenge beat Lights Out, but Lights Out beat Meteor.
Right. That's gonna be like, I'll see you in the playoffs, and we'll decide this thing for real. But moving on now to Group B, Whoopsie, what do you got happening in Group B?
I mean, couple of interesting matchups for Group B. It's going to be tough. It's Circuitry Gaming versus Naptown United. So it's going to be very, very tough for Naptown United, in my personal opinion, against a very solid Circuitry Gaming team.
Yeah.
Coming into, that one going to be 2-0 at that point in time. But I'll hop over and switch gears kind of to Noxum Esports versus Short Circuit Gaming, which would be a better matchup, I think, pretty much game of the week for them for that Group B, because both of those teams are 1-1 right now, 0 game advantage right now for Noxum, and then Short Circuit Gaming +1 advantage. So I mean, both of those teams as well, very very close on paper as far as the skill set goes, as far as the players go as well. So I think it should be a pretty interesting matchup and probably the game of the week for Group B.
I think Short Circuit takes that one.
Okay.
Ooh.
I think so too. I think Short Circuit looks better on paper, or just better in general overall as far as like their history and stuff like that goes over Noxum. But I'm not taking anything away from them. So
That's a spicy take there, Scully, with Short Circuit taking Noxum. Explain why that.
Noxum lost 4-0 to Torrent White, and I really hate to be throwing shade on the girls over there, but Noxum lost 4-0 to Torrent White. Short Circuit is just, they're not gonna lose to Torrent White. Short Circuit is just too good. They're too powerful. They're too strong. They're not losing to Torrent. They're not going to lose to Noxum.
So something that might be swaying your opinion, and maybe I don't know if it was been brought up, but in one of the recent tournaments outside of MPL, didn't Short Circuit beat Circuitry?
Mm-hmm.
Am I not?
So I think
Wasn't that prestigious tournament?
I can't remember.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head either, to be honest with you. Usually I'm pretty decent as far as like, knowing those kind of things.
The outside information, but
I mean, I could be wrong. I could have heard that backwards. That's why I'm asking you guys. But I thought that I heard. I thought that I heard that did happen. Mazo in chat is confirming. Prestige Day 1. It happened. Yep.
Well, there you
wow,
go.
Short Circuit beat Circuitry. Yeah, Short Circuit takes us all the way.
But that's the thing with the bubble scene in Rocket League. It's just I
It
see
is,
it time and time again. I'm gonna
You're
beat
right.
it till the horse is dead, essentially, or beat a dead horse or whatever. It just depends on who wants to show up and play. That's why these are bubble scene teams, because they're just not consistently showing up and just 4-0ing teams, or even taking a series 4-1. Because everybody's not perfect. They're not going to not drop a game necessarily unless you're just ridiculously good coming out the gate. But that's what's so good about this Rocket League scene, the bubble scene, because anybody is beatable at any given moment in time. So I mean, if they did win, which you guys are confirming that they did, who knows? Next time they meet up, the opposite is going to happen. You know what I mean? Or maybe time will tell itself, and basically they kind of went back, reviewed the tape, and just know what to do. I don't know.
I mean,
that is true.
I mean, Circuitry has already slapped Short Circuit in this tournament. So for the rumors to come out that Short Circuit won a game in a different tournament after the fact, it just verifies your point even more that these guys, just the consistency isn't there. If they were consistent, they'd be pro, but they're not. So they're here, and anybody can win anything.
You are not wrong. You guys are not wrong. We are running out of time, so we got to move along. I believe we need to start talking about Group C, if I'm correct.
Yes.
All right.
Scully's going to lead us with Group C.
Yeah.
All righty. I really, they got 2 matchups in Group C: Psych versus New Haven and Escape Velocity versus Las Espadas. All right, I'm putting Las Espadas to win versus Escape Velocity, but the key matchup I want to see is New Haven versus Psych. These are 2 big teams. Been doing a lot of damage in here. New Haven at number 1 in this Group C, Psych at number 3. I think that's going to be a very decisive matchup to see who really stands where in that Group C top 3.
I see Wolfie just rubbing his hands together. Wolfie, what do you have stewing up over there, brother? What's going on, man?
We were talking about this before we came in here. Psych Gaming New Haven is going to be one of those games that we're going to have to continue circling our calendar. Just how we're excited about Lights Out versus Revenge. This is another game that I hope we're able to see this one live and hopefully get some recasters in there from the rotation that we have. But this right here, they were able to come in here. We're gonna have to see how Psych does this week. They played Dracon Esports. Dracon Esports did lose to Las Espadas in round number 1. So Psych Gaming on paper should be able to win this to go into that next week, going undefeated against a 1-1 Las Espadas team who did lose to New Haven this week 4-1. So it's gonna be an interesting matchup for them. But Group C, Psych Gaming Psych Gaming New Haven is gonna be the game that we're gonna have to look out for, and the game that we're all gonna say, hey, this is it right here. This is going to be the game that we're going to look for and continue to look forward to in that Group C.
Now moving on to week number 4. I know we've got a great game coming up. We got Prestige versus Valkyrie Array, but that's going to be a great game. That's going to be a big deciding factor on getting Prestige back into playoff contention as well as tonight's game. But what I really want to look at is Synergy versus Empyre. Now, we mentioned Synergy last week taking Untamed to 3 overtimes. Next week, I want to see them build off that momentum. Whoops, I know you follow the team.
Yeah, Synergy, like I said, we talked about them before. Just one, step away from pretty much just kind of coming together as a team and just kind of, being where they need to be. But right now, as far as everything goes on paper, I really feel like they're kind of up and down. I have seen them come back in some crazy situations and some crazy tournaments, being down in the series a couple of times. But I mean, I want them to start off being ahead in the series and just maintain that lead and show their dominance consistently throughout. So I mean, as far as this one goes right now, it's a must win for Synergy, obviously, to kind of keep their hopes alive, to kind of advance into the playoffs and things of that nature. So here on out, Synergy just needs to kind of come out, be dominant, show what they're really about, and kind of essentially establish themselves here as a solid bubble scene team.
Absolutely, I completely agree with that.
And Wolfie, what are your Group D thoughts? And as soon as we're done with this, we'll be moving on to tonight's matchup, and we'll go to a quick break before the game.
Group D thoughts just coming into it next week. Prestige versus Valkyrie going to be a huge matchup, but I just want to hype up the game that we're about to go in for Group D. This is a matchup that you're having a really hot Empyre team who has a lot of momentum on their side. Had a really good win against Valkyrie 4-2 in that round 2 last week, and against Prestige, who are trying to get their footing back. They're trying to say, hey, yes, we lost to Untamed, but it was best of 7. It was in game number 7. We're not a team that you should start marking off your calendars. Yes, they've had it was their first game of the MPL. So when you're playing a team like Untamed as your first game, you don't even get a round 1 to warm yourself up. It's a tough competition to push yourself against. So this is a big bounce game for them. But Empyre does not look shabby. They look to be hungry and really try to get this one for themselves.
Prestige Esports versus Empyre. That's going to be a game to watch here in just a few minutes. And like you said, Prestige came in and just had that monster, that titan of a team in Untamed to play against in week number 2 as their first matchup after their bye week in week 1. And now they got a chance to go a little bit down the bracket. Prestige sitting at number 4 right now. Beating Empyre can very well put them either tied or, depending on the game differential, even boost them up into that top 3. And that's where they feel like they deserve to be, and it's where they need to be if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive.
I totally agree with you. This is a must-win for Prestige just because of the fact that they need to come out here and just establish that dominance one more time.
Yes.
They had that week number 1 bye. They didn't get their, that first game in. Essentially, the first game, like you said, was against Untamed Esports, a game that should have been won by Prestige, in my personal opinion. Still, I'm sorry, Bepic, but I'm still going to say it. Prestige just looked like a better team all around. Not taking anything away from Untamed because they fought back. They did what they had to do. G-Man 7, they came out and they did their job and they won that series in the end. But Prestige needs to come out here early on, establish dominance, and maybe even take Empyre to a 4-0. I'm not going to say that that's my prediction, but I'm just trying to say that that's what needs to happen because on paper, they really need to make up some of those games.
On paper, they should be 4-0ing Empyre, honestly. If you look at just outside of this tournament, totally off the paper stats, this is that's what how they should be performing. And I mean, just even inside the tournament, Untamed 4-0'd Empyre. Why can't Prestige do the same?
True. It's a true thing. I mean, they're both very, very tough teams there in Group D. Untamed and Prestige pretty much being the favorites in that Group D. So I can foresee it kind of happening, but it just depends on what kind of Prestige team we have.
Right. Well, with that all said, let's get some predictions. Starting off with Woo's right above me. What do you think of tonight? Let's get all 4 of us in on this. Predict tonight's game.
Ooh, the host,
series count 2. Series count 2
gives a prediction. Okay, so series count as well. Okay, so we got Prestige versus Empyre. Empyre is hot right now. They've been doing very, very well lately, coming off of the slump that they were in at the beginning of this season. Prestige been slumping, but they're kind of due for the come out of that slump, and I think tonight is going to be that night. So I'm going to take Prestige over Empyre. I'm gonna say 4-2.
4-2. Okay,
How about you,
Wolfie?
Wolfie?
Look, man, I can't. I've been thinking about it. I've been really putting my head and trying to think about the numbers. And as much as I want to say Prestige or Empire, I'm gonna go with the Magic 8 Ball. I'm gonna ask my Magic 8 Ball that I have right here, and
Oh.
I'm gonna see here. All right,
Okay.
Magic 8 Ball. Will Prestige be able to get Empire, take down Empire tonight?
This man's brought it
Oh,
on.
it says my sources say no, so I'm going
Oh.
Empire. I'm going Empire in 7.
I love it.
Empire. Okay, Empire in 7, you said.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right, Wolfie. In the
Magic
spirit of
8 Ball.
your Magic 8 Ball, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the spirit of the Super Bowl this coming up weekend. I'm gonna go ahead and flip a quarter. Okay, we're gonna
Ooh,
heads or
okay.
tail this situation as well. So heads is gonna be Prestige, tails is gonna be Empire, and we got heads is Prestige. I'm taking Prestige 4-1. 4-1.
Oh, wow. Pretty dominant there. All right. And last but not least, Scully, what are you thinking?
I would love to say Prestige 4-0 and just really big and bold, but you know what? I feel like Prestige is still on a slump and Empire's still on a high, so I'm going to go with them and say 4-1 in favor of Prestige. So, Wolf, your Magic 8 Ball could be joining Bepic in the profit land if you somehow guess this correctly. Even after last week's performance, everybody's still willing, it seems, except for the Magic 8 Ball, to bet on Prestige. And here in just a few minutes, we're going to see if they are worth our belief.
Absolutely. And appreciate everybody for joining us for the MPL Talk Show every Thursday at 7:15 EST. Yeah, I'm correct on
Ish.
that.
Ish.
Yeah. We'll see you guys next week for that. But stay tuned, because just following this, we'll be right back with Empyre Esports versus Prestige Esports, Week 3's feature matchup. Stick around for Whoops You and Galgan on the caster desk, because you don't want to miss this.
Like I fell 1,000 times. Nothing but doubt to flood my mind. 'Cause sometimes it's hard to remember why I ever started racing with my dreams. A restless December, feeling I was meant for more than I believed. I'll never surrender, rather try and fail and fall 1,000,000 times.
There once was a ship that put to sea. The name of the ship was the Billy O.T. The winds blew hard, her bow dipped down. Below me, bully boys blow. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. She'd not been 2 weeks from shore when down on her a right whale.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to week 3. This is Prestige Esports versus Empyre Gaming, and this is going to be a heck of a game. My name is Whoopshoe. You guys just see me on the pre-talk show. Alongside of me is Galgan. Galgan, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing absolutely fantastic, and I have to say, I'm getting a little bit of deja vu. It's another time that I'm joining you here for a match with Prestige. It's also a little weird, too, because the matches that I've seen for MPL have resulted in a little bit of a round-robin effect. I've seen all of Untamed, Empyre, and Prestige going against each other, so I'm completing the trilogy here with this cast tonight, and what a fantastic match we have ahead of us. Am I right?
Oh, I 100% agree. This is going to be anybody's ball game, in my personal opinion. You know, I would love to kind of see Prestige come out here and just be the dominant team that we all know and hope that they can be. But Empyre, like we were talking about in the pre-games, they're on a little bit of a tear here, Galgan.
They are indeed. They've been having a lot of recent success in some other events that they've entered. Meanwhile, Prestige, I mean, everybody kind of likes to throw around the word slump and think that Prestige may be on the lower end here of their full potential. However, you know, you cannot count them out here. They still had a very close series against Untamed, that leader in this group, and you cannot discount them for the effort that they put forward there. But I truly feel as though if Prestige does not give Empyre the credit they deserve from the drop of this series, they could turn themselves into some pretty hot water very quickly if they're not careful.
And I think you hit the nail on the head with this one, you know, because I've seen it happen during that Untamed matchup when I was casting that one. You kind of Prestige came out here and just essentially did not come in here and play to the potential, kind of downplaying everything, and essentially, you know, not taking it serious. You know, because you see what happened in that game number 7. They came out there in game 7. They weren't taking it serious. They weren't playing to their true potential, and just not playing up to who they're playing against. I think we were talking about this beforehand, Galgan. I'm not sure if they're actually taking this as serious as maybe they should be. In my personal opinion, I think Prestige should come out here and just be dominant and just kind of take every single game that they take be serious about this, because these are essentially like scrim matches. You know, this is the bubble scene right here for Rocket League.
Yeah, definitely looking for Prestige to take an early start here against Empyre. It's certainly going to be a crucial game 1 for this series and how it pans out. Obviously, we've got best of 7s, which is one thing I love about the MPL here, making sure that we definitely get the best team on the night, depending on how they're feeling going into this one, you know, whether or not they were maybe scrimming before, they kept their hands warm, or if they're going in cold and trying to make a statement here. I am not going to shy away from my prediction, though. I didn't get to make it during the talk show, but I did make it behind the scenes with some of the other production staff. I will be sticking with the 4-2 series victory for Empyre here. I think that both teams have a good shot to take this series, which gives merit to the whole coin flip or magic 8-ball strategy. But I do think Empyre will have the resolve. They've been on the up and up, as we said, and usually that's pretty indicative of what these teams are going to bring to the field. Prestige, though, for all we know, they could have broken out of that slump that we saw them in earlier, and they very well could storm out to a commanding lead in the series, which then begs the question, what does Empyre do to counter that?
I mean, 8-ball aside, you know, coin flip aside, I also have a D20 sitting next to me, Galgan, if you want to keep on talking about some superstition stuff and, you know, you want to kind of go to like some other outside things. But I 100% agree with you on this one, though. The take that you have is just 100% correct, in my personal opinion. I just really feel like I hope that, you know, Jay Diaz and Seiya kind of come into this matchup, take it really serious, because we saw, like I talked about beforehand in Game 7, Seiya just was not taking it serious towards the end of that game for Untamed. But it looks like we're going to go ahead and hop into this matchup right now. Enough talk about it, Galgan. Let's get this one started.
And indeed, we are underway in game number 1. Really, entertained to see how this one pans out, what these teams come with initially. We know what they're capable of. What I'm looking for specifically, the last time I watched Prestige, it was defensive woes that really plagued them. They didn't really find their footing in the back half as much, and certainly something that they're going to have to watch out for. But sort of to counter that, you know, Empyre, when we saw them go up against Untamed, that was an 0-4 result. They're obviously not happy about it. I've talked actually with players of Empyre about that specific series. They are certainly not happy with their performance in that one. They're looking to try and change things, but they're being put on the back foot early here as Diaz now up for this one to resume the pressure. The double potential is there, does not find it inside the near post, but Prestige are applying a lot of pressure in the first minute.
Yeah, if I was, you know, Empyre, I wouldn't be happy with the results on that one either. You kind of want to come in and, you know, at least take a couple of games away from Untamed Esports. But, you know, unfortunate situation for them to be in that they actually dropped, like you said, all 4 of those games. So now they're kind of pinned up against a wall right now where they have to kind of pull out in front of this Prestige team and kind of score. I mean, maybe take them to, you know, essentially do a 4-0 against Prestige here, or maybe even, you know, take them to a 4-1 maybe. But we talked about it beforehand in the past. You took Empyre. I think I'm taking Prestige in this one, Galgan. I think Prestige needs to come out here, establish some sort of dominance, like you see this demolition right here from Seiya on the right-hand side. But I think Prestige might win this one 4-1.
Yeah, it's a totally valid prediction. Again, both these teams have a good shot. It all depends on what they bring at the start. Diaz with a nice clear here as well, and this is something that Prestige is doing pretty well here in game number 1, is control in the defensive zone. Is that a
what a
redirect?
shot.
Sure enough, it is from Diaz.
What a shot from Diaz, just lingering right there in front of the blue box, essentially coming through on the right-hand side with a great read in the pass from Seiya as well.
Yeah, it didn't change the trajectory too much, but it was just enough to get past the defender. And Prestige first on the board here with about 2 to go. Jay doesn't want to slow down, though, get the second rather quickly. It is challenged early, though, and forced back here against Prestige. Crave, nice touch to the back wall, will go right down to Mazo, but can't control the shot. Mizu's now up for it, sends it under the crossbar, and look at that placement.
What a touch right here by Mizu, just coming across, had to put the shot perfectly, and he does. Diaz had to read on this one, and just shooting it right where Diaz essentially was, just putting the soft enough touch on that one with the accuracy right there, Godwin. That was amazing to see.
And if that's what it's going to take to score in this series, then we are in for a show, as Mizu now carrying the ball again to the back of the zone. It looks like Empyre starting to wake up a little bit. The flip reset is there from Seiya, though, but nothing else to come of it immediately. Diaz will get this one out, though, and Empyre starts to get on top of each other on defense, let alone the demo onto Mazo as well. And Prestige, oh, and what a nasty double that Diaz gets denied on the goal line. Jay tries to put it back. Diaz with the redirect. It's not quite there, and Seiya can't get the shot to fall. Prestige, all of their opportunities here for the most part have looked very threatening, and this one will fall from Seiya on the read.
I honestly expected more Diaz here, picking up this midfield boost. I thought he was going to have some sort of double touch, maybe a flip reset goal, but whatever works, like you talked about beforehand, the dish off to Seiya right there to drill that one home on the follow-up touch. That puts Prestige right back up 2-1.
And with 2:20 on the clock here, it's now on Empyre yet again to respond to this Prestige side, which has had some very solid possession when they've been able to gather it, but now forced back, a little bit of a team bump. Missed challenge, though, that's going to open the door, although sent across the goal line. Mazo doing a good job to hold on here for Empyre and try and regain some of this real estate for them. They've been forced back into some pretty tricky angles, but they're finding the exits. Mazo now gets this one to center up. Mizu to the back wall, trying to use all the boost to get back for the double, but Diaz does get the clear away in time. And crucial backboard defense here from Prestige, especially from Diaz. I've been seeing him all game long so far, knocking out these opportunities before they get to the net. Meanwhile, double, it's gotta be there, surely. There it is.
What a double touch right here from Diaz. You love to see it. You see Prestige now clicking on all cylinders, but I'm not going to say it's still early, Galgan. We've seen this happen against that Untamed team as well. They start clicking early. Everything's going right for them. Then all of a sudden, the light switch just kind of turns out. But it's all Prestige right now in this game number 1.
Yeah, and if the lights aren't turning out for Prestige, they've certainly got to turn on very quickly here for Empyre, as the demo is going to seal it here. Diaz going to secure a hat trick for the 4th for Prestige. It's a push off the sideball. Very unfortunate angle to send in that almost forced own goal, but the demo seals it, and Prestige with a 4-1 lead.
Yeah, just a beautiful 50-50 right there on the right-hand side. Just like you talked about, Diaz now just pretty much putting the team on his back, getting himself a hat trick early on in this matchup. So still more to come in this matchup, Empyre versus Prestige. This is only game 1 of a potential best of 7.
Exactly what I love. Get to see as much action between these teams as possible. Oh my, look at the bump, but Diaz pulls off the shot immediately. Oh, goes for the second, trying to fake everybody out. The mind game's in full effect, but may have done a little bit more harm than good on that one. Diaz, though, stalling for time here, allowing the Team HJ and Saya to get their resources. Mazo, though, with a huge block here at the top of the box. 3 goals the difference, though. And again, every single touch that Empyre are going for here in the second half of the game, they're being met very quickly by a Prestige player who's right on top of it. That demo is only going to add insult to injury as Prestige are on top of the possession. This clear finds its way out, but with 35 to go, the window is closing very quickly on Empyre.
Oh yeah, I believe at this point in time, this is just Prestige's game. They came out, they needed to do what they had to do and kind of establish this dominance, and they're looking like the better team that's playing right now. They're playing at such a fast pace. They're playing very, very aggressive as well, pulling out some demolitions, and on top of that, they're just challenged at the right place at the right time as well. So Prestige looking like the better team, and I believe this one's all said and done as we click the final 10 seconds in this game number 1. Crave trying to find something on the left-hand side here now. Mizu and Mazo both on the right-hand side trying to get something going, but that one's going to hit off the ceiling and right down to the ground, and Prestige is going to take game number 1.
Solid victory there for Prestige. And we talked about it a little bit in the pre-show and, honestly, across other leagues as well. I want to bring up, the notion of this hyper carry playstyle that a lot of teams seem to be developing now. Obviously, it's not present in every single game for both of these teams, but you have to call out Diaz's effort individually here for Prestige. You would be remiss to notice that Diaz put up 6 of the team's 10 shots, generating so much pressure. Obviously, it isn't without the help of Jay and Saya just putting in so much work to set up these opportunities. But again, when you have a player who is really feeling themselves on those offensive opportunities, it becomes that much harder to guard shot after shot, especially if someone's putting them as well in the net as Diaz was.
It's just one of those situations, in my personal opinion, where you're kind of handing the rock off to the person who's, popping off, or they're hot. They're just at the right place at the right time. It's definitely a team effort. Everything has to click on all cylinders from both sides, offense and defense, to set up shots like that, to set up Diaz. Diaz is just that person right now who's right place, right time. And I'm not essentially taking anything away from Diaz because he's a great player, one of the better players, in the MPL in general. So I would just say that, it's just fortunate that Diaz was essentially the person that was there at the right place at the right time. So Prestige definitely clicking on all cylinders, looking like the better team in that game number 1.
Yeah, 100%. We're not watching ones here, we're watching threes, and you need your teammates to be in strong positions if you're going to go for those opportunities. It's just as important what you're doing off the ball as what you do on it, as Crave gets a save away, rocking that Bengals decal, hoping that they take home the Super Bowl win this weekend. But we'll have to see if Empyre can take the win in this series. They start down 1, not the position they want to be in against Prestige of all teams, because this is probably one of the teams that's going to snowball, but Crave just forces that one in.
Looking like the Bengals offense right there, just forcing that one, stuffing it in right at the goal line. You see Jay doing the best that he possibly can. And he was in great position, just, not enough momentum on his side, and that 50-50 is going to be in favor of Craze to put Empyre up early in this matchup. And that has to be a huge mental relief now if you're Empyre, because, sometimes that first goal is the most crucial one, and it changed up the whole entire play style the rest of the game, Gaugen.
And it's a fantastic job. Oh my goodness, I was gonna sing the praises of that last goal, but it's equalized by a crazy shot here. Look at this touch. How do you have the control to send it off the ground like that after popping it to the ceiling? That is a masterclass right there from Saya.
Sometimes all you have to do is kind of just follow through with your shot. I think once or twice beforehand in the past, I have said it. Sometimes you see a good double touch off one of the side walls, close to that blue box, and the person who shot that, or the person who flicks it, just follows through with their shot, just like basketball, and Diaz is going to score this one, put Prestige right back up 2-1, and now Empyre has to start kind of feeling this pressure.
Yeah, a lot of pressure and a lot of free real estate on that backboard in Empire zone. They need to clean that up. And again, we're seeing a lot of these goals fall very quickly. The touches are coming in quick succession. The offenses are playing very close to each other. The defenses are playing very spread out. And typically you want to give that space to your teammates to allow for them to go for their own touches and make sure that the ball doesn't get cleared past two people in one quick motion. However, when you give that space on defense and you don't have that second defender ready in case the first misses, these shots that come really quickly towards those close areas in the box become that much more threatening. And it's something that both of these teams are looking to take advantage of. A lot of these goals have come from very scrappy positions. So certainly trying to get these clears out before the shots become too threatening is something on both of these teams' to-do lists.
Yeah, also look at the demolition right there by Mizu. Huge one right there from Crave as well. But to kind of add on to what I was saying earlier, it's one of those things where if anybody played basketball in the chat, essentially your coach tells you, shoot that three ball, but follow through with your shot because you're the person that kind of shot that, so you know if you're going to miss it or hit that. And that's exactly what happened right there for Seiya. Just that touch right there that he had, almost sneaking one through as well as Mizu. But that shot that he had right there, just using the last of that boost to kind of, put a threatening shot towards that net, is going to back up that defense and maybe give you some sort of opportunity right there that presents itself on the offensive end.
It's all about keeping your eyes forward. It's a little bit easier with Rocket League, with ball cam. You've got your eye on the ball for as much as possible, but making sure that you're looking ahead of the play. What can you do once you rotate through and have that efficiency to try and set your teammates up better? Oh, what a centering pass that is just stuffed away by Crave. Again to the middle, but Mazo gets it out. Seiya with a quick backboard clear, though, to deny the follow-up opportunity. Crave goes for a challenge. Couple misses here. Mazo trying to play it slow, but it does not work out in his favor. Instead, Diaz will take it to the other side, nearing 2 minutes. Crave again with another clutch save.
And another shot.
But Seiya puts it in.
Just shot after shot, relentless shots right here for Prestige. Empire just did not know what to do here. Backed up on their goal line. Crave doing everything that he possibly can there in that situation, getting that first initial save. But yeah, this Prestige offense is just full throttle at this point, just trying to tack on more. And they have the lead 3-1 now with only 2:10 remaining.
It's just pressure, pressure, pressure here for Prestige, and they're executing it very well where Empire cannot find those rotations on defense. They have to be so close to each other and sacrifice their positioning just to get these saves, which really speaks volumes to the pressure that Prestige is able to apply. Crave searching for this one on a redirect, doesn't find it, makes it all the way to the back before Jay blocks it out. But the follow-up will be found here. What a save on the pre-jump from Diaz down from the crossbar. Now trying to get an air dribble out, flip reset for show. Didn't quite connect. Now saves it for a little bit of a back pass, but unfortunately Seiya rotated too far through it. Good block, though, from Jay. And again, the efficiency from Prestige. They've always got somebody on the play, their eyes on the ball, ready to block, even if the other two teammates are completely out of it, trying to get boost. That third person in Prestige's rotation is always in a meaningful position, and that's what's winning them this series so far.
That's what they need to do, though. I see sometimes, especially against that Untamed team, they were playing more defensively, and I feel like now that they're playing, I would say, a quote-unquote weaker. I'm not trying to say that Empire is weaker by any means, but they're playing, they're not playing Untamed is what I'm trying to say, essentially. So they're not playing as much defense. They're trying to turn everything into an offensive possession into a score. So, I mean, that's why they changed up the whole entire game plan, essentially, from this Untamed Esports matchup that they had early on. But not to take anything away from Empire, final 45 seconds remaining, they're trying to knock on the door, come right back into this matchup, but it's just been so tough because Prestige has controlled everything, pretty much kept everything over on the blue side of the field.
You really hit the nail on the head, though, because, again, looking at that matchup with Untamed, you've got players like Seven and G-Man who are just so offensively efficient, and they really capitalized on Prestige's defensive missteps. And what I was trying to say in the pregame before this series got started is that's what Empire needs to do. They need to be testing Prestige in the way that Prestige is doing to them, and it's simply not coming through too often. That shot was looking prime to send in, but unfortunately, it's going to get sent the other way, and it looks like Prestige, as this time winds down, is going to lock up a 2-0 series lead.
Yeah, it's Prestige starting this one off hot. This is exactly what you want to do if you're Prestige. You want to come in here, you want to dominate, you want to get these games done and pretty much win this one 4-0. I almost wanted to say this one would be a 4-0 matchup, but I stuck to a 4-1 because I really feel like Empire could kind of come through and take one away from this Prestige, kind of get some of that momentum back. And I might suspect that it could be this game because they did answer first. But I think the biggest difference maker in this matchup so far, and the difference maker between the Untamed game, the Prestige that we've seen in the Untamed game, and this one, is the fact that, like I said, they're attacking this differently because of the fact that I feel like Empyre is such a good team. They just don't have the solo capabilities like Untamed did, like Seven does. Seven had so many individual goals in that matchup. Empyre plays well together as a team, and Prestige does a very good job of cutting off some of those offensive angles.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Untamed did a really good job of shutting down Prestige and playing their own version of Rocket League, but now it's Prestige's turn to impose their will on Empyre. And my own prediction for a 6-game victory from Empyre looking a little shaky right now. But again, to go back to my previous point, it all starts with Empyre bringing that same pressure. I know it's easy for us to say. I know you or I in this lobby likely could not do what these players are able to do, so our word only holds so much weight. But for Empyre, they've got to bring it to Prestige. It's matching that pace. It's finding those constant shots on target that are just wasting the defense's resources, which will get them back into this series. But with a 2-0 lead for Prestige, again, that snowball comes into effect, and it is all on Empyre to stop it from rolling any further.
Listen, Galgan, I can barely last in my Wood 3 lobbies that I'm ranked in, okay? So, yeah, to say if I could compete with these guys, that is few and far between. I could not do it. I cannot keep up. And that's why I try not to talk as much about the players on the field, because I can't do this stuff myself. I'm whiffing on balls, whiffing on shots, and my car control is not where it needs to be. So hats off to every single person in this bubble scene and everybody in the MPL League. Look at the shot right here for Seiya, though. What a touch from Diaz.
Yeah, good work here. Another scrappy play as well, and it's the control from Diaz. Just waiting till that ball had so much time, though, as well. So nobody was able to jump quite through. They didn't really know where it was ending up towards that near post, and it's another close shot as well. Just looking for Empyre to get that ball cleared out faster.
Yeah, just a good shot right there. Good placement as well. And that's the difference. We've seen the follow-up touches coming out for Prestige now, whereas before they were struggling with that, or at least playing a lot more defensively. Now they're having these opportunities right here from Jay. That one's going to be sailed far to the right-hand side. So they're playing a lot more aggressive play style, and it's been working out for them so far. So let's hope that they can kind of keep it on, tack on some more goals and have a comfortable lead. But if you're Empyre, you have to start feeling this pressure, and you have to start doing something on the offensive segment, because it's few and far between at this point, Galvin.
It really is. And every single time Prestige enter the zone, it feels like as this has gone on, they're kind of catching Empyre's defense on the back foot. It doesn't look like they're fully set. I love Empyre's pushes on the offensive side of things, but they've got to keep that consistency. And again, they're not really holding on to possession for too long at a time. Again, this one finds its way out and a nice shot on, taken away. But all three members from Empyre now pushing up in the corner. All it takes is one big block to see an opportunity through, and sure enough, there it is from Seiya.
What a huge 50-50 right there from Diaz. Just opens up the door, and like we talked about, the crucial follow-up touches right there. But there was a little bit of sloppy offense that just favors Prestige in that matchup. But that 50-50 initially from Diaz, just keeping the aggression, and more importantly, keeping that possession on the blue side of the field.
We get further in minute and a half into game number 3, and Prestige with a very comfortable foothold in this series. They've got so much aggressive pressure here, building yet again right off of the kickoff. Clear though from Crave out to Mazo, can't quite find it. Mizu, last one in rotation. That's two people really close to the net though, and Seiya still able to get the save away when it looked wide open. Mizu, nice centering pass, but no shooters in sight. Jay will get a nice high touch to clear away. The demo as well will help seal the advantage on this opportunity, but Mazo jumps off of the corner. It's exactly what Empyre needs to start doing, taking away the scoring opportunities from the middle of the field. But here goes Jay down the middle as I say it, blocked early. Diaz looking for the follow-up shot, laces it, but it's saved away from the bottom corner.
What a great read right there from Crave. He pretty much was just in a terrible situation, but still makes the save and still makes the read as well. So hats off to Crave in that situation, because his car was actually backwards, and he kind of backflipped into that save as well. Here comes Diaz now, right-hand side, trying to seal the deal, and he does! Diaz doing it himself once again, puts up Prestige 3-0 now.
And the patience here to get to the top of the box, just wait for this one. Oh, finds it on the flip, actually. Beautiful shot, and the read as well. It's a tough one to make from the defender because you have to trust that bounce coming out and be able to get to the ball quickly. Likely would have if Diaz didn't connect, but my goodness, what a shot. This one, though, will find its way to the crossbar. Crave can't tap it home. High one and a little double up to clear away, but Mizu's not quite in the area. Now takes the shot. Jay with the save away, and Prestige holding on to the shutout here. Mazo pushing through the corner once again. Still over 2 minutes to go, so plenty of time for Empyre to find their way back in. But again, we find this multi-goal lead heading into the later stages of the game here. Empyre still struggling to break through. Mazo trying to make it happen, but cannot.
Yeah, like we talked about beforehand, this is just few and far between right now for Empyre. Sometimes with their offenses, Diaz is going to attack another one on here. Prestige up 4-0 now, but few and far between opportunities have come through for Empyre, and they play so well as a team, but it's just been the lack of individual goals that kind of separated both of these teams so far. So you kind of need that one person on the Empyre team to kind of just pop off and start scoring some of these individual goals, because Prestige has their number right now. They're cutting off all these offensive opportunities.
Yeah, and it's individual goals for Empyre, but it's also the middle of the field. We always love to see solid infield passing here, but for Empyre, it just has not been present. Whereas on the other side, for Prestige, they have had dominant control of that area. They're able to find these opportunities, which again, you know, we've got 90 seconds on the clock and a 4-goal difference. Empyre being down 2 games, they have to throw everything they possibly can on offense, and it sort of reminds me of hockey. When you empty the net, you take your goalie out, you throw all of your eggs into the basket of offensive pressure, but you leave wide open looks on the other end, and this just seems to be the situation for Empyre. They need to throw everything just to get a solid look at that orange net, and they're still not finding anything here in game 3.
I mean, whatever gets the job done, like you said, the hockey strategy, you can't lose by, you know, it's not going to look any better if you lose by more, but if you start to kind of figure out some sort of breaks in the Prestige defense, and it pays off for you, like this one right here from Crave, almost finding the way to the back of the net, still not done yet. Here comes Mizu now, right-hand side, trying to get it clear here is Prestige, and Diaz pops it off to the right-hand side, but right to Mizu, potentially has this one too, but man, close opportunities right there, and that's the team chemistry I'm talking about right now for Empyre. It's a good team chemistry to have, but it's just, we need to have that one player, like how 7 was that one player for Untamed that just took over, and Prestige didn't have an answer for him.
And they're doing exactly what they need to here, trying to open up these dirty scoring areas. It's Mazo with a nice touch that finds its way inside the near post there, but they're trying to find it to the top of the box, the middle of the field, even the backboard. It's something that Prestige has taken really strong advantage of in this series so far, but Empyre hasn't really explored that avenue to its fullest potential. Jay gets saved away off of a nasty touch there. The chain dash from Diaz to try and recover as Mazo finds Grave. Oh, the shot is absolutely lasered. This one gets cleared away though. Mazo comes through. Opportunity for a second. No, it gets taken away. I mean, this likely falling in the way of Prestige with the 3-goal deficit. Maybe a consolation, but Crave can't get it to fall. Time expires here in the corner, and as soon as this ball hits the ground, it'll be Prestige going on a very early match point.
Yeah, Prestige taking this one 4-0, or 4-1. My apologies. But what I want to talk about is just, that's what you have to do if you're Empyre. You have to put some of these threatening shots towards the Prestige's net to kind of catch them off of the rotation for defense. So you have to kind of, you know, start to develop something. And you've seen it right there at the very end. All 3 members of Prestige kind of collapsed on each other and had a little bit of communication issues right there. So if you're Empyre Esports, you have to find a way to break past this midfield, start trying to establish some of these passing lanes infield to kind of prevent that Prestige defense and kind of catch them off of the rotation. That's what I feel like is going to open up the door for them, and it's going to keep Prestige on their heels and respect this Empyre offense a little bit more.
Yeah, you've got to be looking for those green lights on offense from Empyre here. Those opportunities where Prestige aren't quite sure where they're supposed to be. They're few and far between because Prestige has looked very confident on the pitch tonight, but you've got to be reading that car language. It can be pretty tough, honestly, because you got to use your peripheral vision a little bit. You're focusing on the ball, looking for the pass, looking for where the defenders are. If they're all bunched up on the goal line, which again, Prestige hasn't done a whole lot of this series, that's the opportunity where you really need to be pushing things and generating that pressure. So for Empyre here, the comeback has to start now. There's no other option as we get into game number 4 on Utopia Coliseum with Prestige in a 3-0 lead.
Almost an early goal right here from Jay as well. Mizu just kind of baiting him out. Say it now on the right-hand side, or left-hand side, my apologies, trying to get something going here. Diaz is going to intercept that one, but there's the communication issues that I was talking about earlier. You've seen Jay just kind of come up and scoop that one, in front of Diaz, or vice versa. Diaz kind of scooping that one in front of Jay, and you see the little bit of the offensive rotation issues or defensive rotation issues that kind of develops here for Prestige. So if you are Empyre Esports, you're going to have to avoid these demolitions like this one from Seiya, and you're going to have to capitalize on these opportunities like this one, and Mazo is going to score and put Empyre up 1-0.
Very fast shot from near the corner there, and the defenders did not give it enough time. The jump too slow. The defender coming around back post, not there in time either. And Empyre with a really good look here to get the first. They've got that little momentum swing. They've got to take this series one step at a time, and obviously plenty of time left on the clock before this first step is complete.
Exactly how you want to start off if you're Empyre. I think they were listening to the cast, Calgan. I think they heard what I said. So, you know, hats off to them for actually listening to the casters. But not out of danger just yet. Diaz, the man capable of doing something on the offensive end. He had himself a hat trick in game number 1. Gets that one intercepted by Crave early on. Here comes the setup now. Mazo gonna shoot that one towards the far post. Jay was just waiting for that one. Seiya now up the left-hand side, trying to get something going there for the Prestige offense to tie this ball game right back up, but we could quickly find ourselves right back on the orange side of the field.
Yeah, really liking Empyre's looks here on offense. They're getting to the challenges as quickly as they can, denying this space for Prestige. I mean, it's not without Prestige's misses here. They've had a couple of whiffs high up in the air that have allowed Empyre that angle into the offensive zone. So if they can take that space and not waste it there when given the opportunity, they're certainly going to have a stronger look. As now Crave going towards the sidewall, trying to dodge the bump from Jay. Does get a nice pinch off the ceiling there, but Mazo can't get the shot off. This one's going to enter the opposite zone, and what a save from Mizo on the back foot to take that one away.
That was a huge save right there for Mizo, or Mizu, I'm sorry, my apologies. I was going to say Jay was kind of struggling right there, or Diaz, one of the two was kind of struggling as this one's going to find its way in and tie this ball game back up. So Prestige's offense wide awake again.
Yeah, that high aerial space right on top of the box has been utilized so much from both squads. It's such a lethal angle to send shots and passes through, because obviously the defenders rotating in. If they've still got ball cam on, they're staring straight up at the ceiling and they don't see where the shot is coming in from the person who's second in rotation. So it's a very good capitalization for the equalizer here for Prestige. And again, they've got this 3-game cushion right now in this series. They theoretically can drop this one if they need to, but I have a feeling Prestige wants to make a statement here to try and advance to 1-1 and take this series in a sweep if they can.
Listen, if Prestige drops this game, you guys are going to start calling me Bepic, because I predicted 4-1 Prestige, you know, taking this one overall. But at the same time, I can see this one ending in a 4-0 victory. And like I said, I really wanted to call it a 4-game sweep, but at the same time, I really feel like Empyre is a good enough team that they can kind of develop something and, you know, take a game away from Prestige. But I really feel like Prestige was just going to be too much for them to handle overall as far as the best of 7 goes. But you see this one right here. I was going to say that was Crave, I believe that was, Armazu, trying to bring that one upfield and still keeps possession on the orange side of the field. Prestige desperately needed to clear, and they're going to get one right here, courtesy of, I believe that was Seiya, crossing that one right back towards the orange side. But short-lived, Galgan, as we come right back towards the orange side.
Yeah, I like Empyre's decision to boom that ball. They obviously could have taken time because they had plenty of space in their own half, but they're trying to capitalize on low resources here for Prestige's defense. Obviously, that is no longer the question, as now Mizu is forced to come across and doesn't get there in time. Finds the bottom corner, and Prestige get a late lead.
I want to see this one as far as Mizu's angle goes, because I really feel like, yeah, he had plenty of boost to kind of flip into that one. He had 30-something boost to catch up to that ball, so that's just a huge whiff right there on Mizu's part, and a great opportunity right there for Prestige to kind of take the lead. Only a minute and 30 seconds remaining now.
I didn't quite see that one coming, to be honest. I thought the save was there, which is why it didn't look like too threatening of an opportunity. But regardless, it's that pressure, again, from Prestige that strikes against Empyre here. The Empyre has to start striking back at this point. Otherwise, it is not going to happen in this series. Diaz is trying to play it slow. Seiya now to the post, cleared away. The shot does not find its way through, so luck here has stricken for Empyre, but they're trying to get out of the zone. 60 to go and 1 goal to equalize.
I applaud you for the Star Wars reference, by the way. Okay, that one didn't sneak by me. I'm a little bit of a Star Wars nerd myself. But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what Diaz was kind of doing there on the goal line. I think it was just kind of, you know, like you said, the mind games, trying to, you know, maybe hit a little bit of a clip there, but I'm not too sure. But in my personal opinion, you just drive that one straight through because you're only up by 1 goal. They're having a little bit of fun out here, which is what you always want to do if you're playing Rocket League. But at the same time, you need to establish your dominance on some of these games and kind of come out here and win these ones in a high scoring affair. Final 30 seconds now. Here comes Diaz now on the other side of the field, just kind of stalling some time. What a nice showing of some car control there. Seiya picks up a demolition on Mizu. Now is going to back them up. Still not done yet. Here comes Crave. Might have something in development here as this would be popped away. Seiya with a huge touch right there.
10 seconds to go. Mizu centers this up. Crave can't get the shot off. Mazo has to go up for this one immediately, using almost all the boost. 15 left to try and block it, and it's just too high. Crave now down to Mizu. The shot is in. 1 second, and we're tied.
I knew that this one was going to happen. As soon as Mazu had this one off the side wall, I saw the rotation. I mean, Crave, I'm sorry. Mizu was just lingering at midfield, and this is what Empyre does best. They utilize everybody on the offense to try to get the job done. Like I said, they don't have that one player that's the standalone player that kind of gets things done. But wow, what a shot right there. What a team play by Empyre. This one was still in the air, but we're headed to overtime in game number 4.
That was a scary bounce there from the sidewall, too, and I have no idea how quickly or slowly this one might end. Looks like we won't get anything immediately off the kickoff, but Empyre certainly happier to be here than losing that one away in regulation. At least they forced the OT, but they need a little bit more. They do not want to walk away being swept by Prestige. It would be such a statement win, though, for Prestige if they do get it, but here's Crave to the back wall. Does not have the resources for the double, and it falls to Mizu in the corner. Another center, but Crave gets bumped off from taking the follow-up shot. Seiya now forcing this one all the way down, but Empyre doing a really good job of locking things down. Prestige not throwing everything at offense just yet, playing a little more carefully.
I was going to say, this is a whole different Prestige team that we've seen essentially from game 1, 2, and 3. Like I said, they are having a lot more fun out here, but now it just seems like it looks like a whole different team. They're not as confident. They kind of backed up just a tad bit longer, and they're not making those far clears or reads that we're kind of seeing. And we're seeing a lot more opportunities being developed right now for Empyre, as we have an opportunity here for Prestige now on the other end of the field. Diaz now going to try to take this one by himself. He has the capability. He has the flip reset as well. That one almost sneaks its way through, but Mizu saves that one, and right there keeps Empyre in this matchup.
My goodness, this overtime is Cirque du Soleil in the air and Mad Max on the ground. The demolitions are crazy from both sides as they try to open up these opportunities. Prestige coming out with all the mechanics. It's a pass out to Diaz. The shot is high, and Mizu will clear it away. Players needing to pull out all the stops here. Seiya gets blocked in the corner, but it's still there. A couple of bumps. Slow clear. Hits the post, though. Follow-up shot from Seiya. That's it. Game, match, series for Prestige.
Beautiful setup right here, and they were just backed up into their side of the field for just too long and just boost-starved as well. So that was going to sneak its way through and be drilled home by Seiya, and Prestige wins this series in a 4-0 sweep.
This is a massive statement for Prestige in this series. I mean, it would have been a great victory for either team. I feel like looking specifically at this group, as the season got started, we picked Prestige to do very well in their group, but some of the teams that could have given them a run for their money, I believe Empyre would have been one of those teams that we looked to. And listen, I mean, this is a 4-0. It's not necessarily a far gone 4-0 for the side of Empyre. They weren't able to force the last game to overtime. They had really good looks. But again, it comes down to not being able to capitalize on Prestige's weaknesses. And as soon as Prestige realizes that they have that space and they have those opportunities, they took them, they ran, and they never looked back.
Oh, 100%. I mean, they just looked like a very dominant team coming out into this one. And essentially, they looked like the Prestige team that we thought and knew that they were. The confidence, the domination on the offense and the defensive side of the field. They really didn't let Empyre get too comfortable. The slight hiccup, of course, towards the end of that game number 4, where everything was all tied up and taken into overtime. But this Prestige team came out, they dominated, they got the job done, and they got it done in 4, which is impressive enough.
Yeah, it's going to do wonders for them, obviously, moving forward. Not just series differential in your record going into the playoffs, but game differential matters a lot, too, in the case of tiebreakers and that last clash of the circuits and whatnot. So Prestige getting a much-needed victory here. They still have to play Valkyrie, Array, and Synergy in the group, but that is the Week 3 featured matchup in the books, and my goodness, what a fantastic matchup as well. You have to give credit, to the fans as well of Empyre and Prestige, always showing up and showing out in support of their squads, no matter what. So hats off to you and everybody watching, of course.
Yeah, thank you guys very much for showing up, showing the love and support for your team. Regardless of what the score stat line, shows, you guys are always here supporting these guys, the players on the field, and you guys are here in full force. I've seen a lot of people coming through the chat, the copy pastas and the spam. You love to see it, guys. It adds so much more to the Melon Patch League, and it adds so much more to this team as well, because I feel like the teams kind of appreciate it when you guys come out and show up in full force like this. It really helps them mentally.
It really does. I know the players absolutely love to see the support. We love to see it too. And listen, that is the one and only match that we have for stream tonight. And I believe that is the last action of week 3. So surely you're going to see everybody's takes coming out about how week 3 went down. Teams are getting really close to either locking in their spots or facing elimination. So it's starting to get pretty intense here in the Melon Patch League. But be sure to tune in to the rest of the action starting next week with week number 4. Highly contentious matchups that you do not want to miss. Be sure to join the Discord, check us out on Twitter, all that good stuff. For my good friend and co-caster tonight, whoops you, my name is Galgan, and for everybody else behind the scenes as well, we hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next week.